Thank you for tuning in and welcome back, team. In today's episode of Real Estate Facts, you'll learn about buying an old house with 7 ways to avoid a nightmare. My name is Andrew Finney, your real estate geek. If you need help finding a top agent where you live, or if you simply want to drop me a line to say hello, my contact info is below. If you haven't already done so, please go ahead and subscribe to this channel now and like this video. Thank you. Okay, team, so let's talk about this. There's a lot of potential wrapped up in a lot of homes that would be considered a fixer-upper, or a home that is old and maybe like a handyman special of sorts, right? So call it what you will, but there's a lot of potential wrapped up in those type of homes depending on what you're looking at. You get a new place to live, you get a new sense of direction, a purpose for years and years to come, and the very real possibility of creating a financial gain by making the right improvements to that home over time. Now, on the flip side of that, there's plenty of things that are going to be unknown. The more information that you have, the more information that you're going to be able to have in making a great decision, the better that you're going to be in your considerations and in your due diligence phase, and the more peace of mind you're going to have whenever you move forward with an older home. So let's go ahead and acknowledge the elephant in the room here. You know, a lot of anxiety happens whenever somebody buys an old house, and it comes up with a sense of fear. And I want you to know something. Fear is really just an acronym for false evidence appearing real. So with these following 7 ways to eliminate a nightmare, go ahead and keep that in the back of your mind's eye, that fear is just false evidence appearing real, and the way that you get rid of it is with knowledge. And the next 7 tips that I'm going to share with you are going to give you the information that you need to have peace of mind, clarity, focus, and comfort with the decision-making process that you have. So let's go ahead and equip you with number 1. The number 1 thing that we want to ask a person selling an old house if there's any problems that you should be aware of. Now, it really pays to ask this question very open, very wide, especially if you're in a position of talking directly to the seller. In many cases, your trusted real estate advisor will be there with you, and the trusted real estate advisor that you're working with will also have a conversation with the listing agent themselves. If you do find yourself in a position where you and the seller are talking, go ahead and feel free to ask them, are there any problems that I should be aware of? And just throw it out there and see what they say. It's not uncommon for a seller to respond with the first word being, no, oh, no, there's no problems. And then followed up by, well, not really. And then maybe, well, just that, we did have the roof replaced back about 5 years ago. So, of course, whenever they go to just that, now it's revealing something, and your trusted real estate advisor is going to be there like a hawk, taking notes, just listening, and smiling and nodding, and listening and observing the conversation. They'll go back to the listing agent and have a conversation with them about that property. But it is one of those times that when you ask a question, leave silence in the air. Let the silence do the heavy lifting, and they will often, the opposite person will a seller will often fill the void and keep talking and share more information than they actually had intended to. So it's a great way of getting more of your questions answered from the seller, okay? The second thing that you want to know about is, have they done any work on the property? This is really, really, really important. And again, it pays to ask just a general question. Have you done any work on this property? If so, what? And then throw it out there. But this is what we really want to look at, and I'm going to give you kind of a short list to prime your thought process here, but by no means is it an exhaustive list. One of the things that you want to know whenever somebody's doing work on property, what structural repairs, if any, did they do? Did they do any additions to the property? And if so, were there permits pulled for those additions to the property? Did they delete anything or remove anything, such as taking a porch off of the property? Or, what did they remove? Did they do any electrical upgrades since the time that they purchased the property? Again, were permits pulled if needed? And then, plumbing upgrades or relocations, like they moved a sink or they moved a toilet, they moved a shower from here or there. And again, any permits pulled. Roofing, when was the last time that they repaired the roof, if not replaced the roof, and when was it, and what did they replace it with? Do they have a receipt for that? Air conditioning replacement or HVAC work, when was the last time it was serviced? When was the last time it was replaced? Those are great questions to know about. What work have they done on the property? The third thing that you want to know about is, do they know if all the permits were pulled by the previous owners of that property, or did they pull the permits if they were the ones completing the additions or making structural repairs, electrical upgrades, or plumbing upgrades. It's extremely, extremely important to know that, because if you don't have that knowledge going into it and you don't know if the permits were pulled, if you buy that house and permits were not pulled, then you're going to be in the position as the new owner of that property to do one of two things. Number one, either you're going to have it permitted, and that's going to cost you some extra bucks on that one, a lot of extra bucks on that one. And if the permits can't be pulled on the property because it was maybe an illegal addition to a property or something that wasn't up to code, then guess what? You're going to have another couple options. Either take it to code or remove it. Either of those cases, any of those cases are going to cost you money. So knowing the answers to these questions up front are going to protect you and arm you with the knowledge that you need to make a well-informed decision on about buying an old house. Now, the fourth thing that you want to ask is, are there any issues with ... silence? Right? So are there any issues with the roof? Are there any issues with the structure? Are there any issues with the electrical? Any issues with the HVAC system? Are there any issues with the plumbing? Once you've started with these general questions, you'll have a better idea of what's going on, and you can kind of like slowly work your way into more specific questions that you may have about other major systems and those areas of the home. And it's important to remember at this point a few different things that can make this conversation very powerful and make it very easygoing for both you, your buyer agent, the listing agent, and the seller. And that's keeping it conversational. Don't be like interrogation mode, are there any issues with the roof? Are there any issues with the structure? Are there any issues with the electrical? No, that's not the approach we want. Oh, by the way, have you ever had any issues with the roof? Oh, just out of curiosity, with the structure, were there any issues that you've come up with, like foundations or anything, just so I have an idea of what's going on? And then throw it out there. Conversational pays here. And you really want to know the answer to those 5 items that I just mentioned, and your trusted real estate agent will be able to get you those answers. And then the next thing is to actually play it cool. So if you're at the house and they're there, if the seller's there as well, then just play it cool. And if your agent was able to get more information from the listing agent and they share that information with you, play it cool. It's all an information finding mission here. It's all about getting all the information possible to alleviate that false evidence appearing real, fear, right? With the knowledge of what is, so you can make a well-informed decision for what you're looking for with comfort and confidence every step of the way. The fifth thing to do is, now once you've gathered all your information, ask yourself, do I need to know more to proceed with buying this property? If so, what do I want to know? And if you can answer that question and you have a list of different things you would like to know, ask your trusted real estate advisor to get those answers in as much as it's possible to give you all the answers to those questions before you move forward with that purchase. Now, the sixth thing to remember is, you're working with a trusted real estate advisor. So a trusted real estate advisor, you got different sides. You got a buyer agent, you got a listing agent. Now, by law and by our fiduciary duties to you and to our clients, which are to be obedient, loyal, give full disclosure, keep your confidence, make full accounting, and give you what's called reasonable skill and care, we are compelled as a buyer agent to discuss this matter with the listing agent. And the listing agent is compelled to discuss things with the buyer agent, not directly with the seller. Like if I was representing you as a buyer, I really would be inappropriate or unethical for me to engage directly with the seller on too many different questions, because it would start breaching their privacy law that they have and the fiduciary responsibilities that they have with their listing agent, that their listing agent has to them to protect their best interest. Now, if they volunteer that information, well, by all means, if you throw out the question, well, yes, I'm listening, and I might throw out a couple of different things over there as well. Now, as a listing agent, they're compelled not to talk directly to the buyer in as much as they're compelled to talk to the buyer agent, hence why you have a professional representation on both sides of the house that are protecting both parties' independent and separate best interests. So it's important to remember that too. Now, the seventh and last point here is information is power. You guys always know that, like, there's an old adage, knowledge is power. And that's why I always mention in these videos all the time, fear is false evidence appearing real. With knowledge, it's so powerful because you can replace the fear with comfort. I mean, consider this and really think about this for a moment. If you have somebody that's communicating with you or not communicating with you, people I have found really do a few different things with information. Number one is if they get no news, people are absolutely awful with no news. If they get bad news, they're okay with bad news because they might be a little angry or frustrated up front, but then they appreciate the fact that they know. And if they get good news, then they're super, super delighted. So when you think about information, just the more of it that you can get, the better off you're going to be. The more sound your decision-making process is, the less you question what you did and what you decided and why you have bought the house that you have. It's really important to consider these 7 things to avoid a nightmare when buying an old house. If you're paying attention and you're writing these things down, jotting down some notes, sharing it with your buyer agent, what have you, then you're going to be very well prepared to close on your new home with full confidence and full happiness moving forward into your home ownership phase. Now, if you have questions about this, I'll put my contact information up. Please feel free to reach out to me, even if you want to just drop me a line to say hello. I'd love to hear from you. Now, at this point in the video, I'm going to ask you, what was the most impactful of these 7 points to you? And any other tips you'd like to share with us, put it in the comment section below. Was it number 1 that you should actually ask people, are there any problems that I should be aware of? Or was it maybe like number 2, whenever you ask, have you done any work on the property? Going over the structural repairs, additions, deletions, electrical, plumbing, air conditioning replacements. Or was it maybe the 5 core questions you want to ask about, are there any issues with the roof, the structure, electrical, HVAC, or plumbing, right? So tell us what was most impactful to you in the comment section below. Now, if you haven't already done so, I'm going to ask you to do 3 things. Number 1, please subscribe to this channel. Number 2, please like this video. And number 3, please share this video around with someone you know is going to be able to help. Thank you so much for watching today, team. I'm looking forward to making another video and seeing you again next week. And between now and then, I'm wishing you and yours a lifetime full of love, wealth, abundance, and happiness. Enjoy an amazing day.